This is my book, How to Make a Video Game All by Yourself, and this is the audiobook for how to make a video game all by yourself. I mean, it's not really the audiobook. The audiobook is this intangible thing that exists in the cloud, right? But the point being that the audiobook is now available on Spotify. It's also available on Audible and Amazon, which are, I guess, two different things. And using a service called Findaway Voices, it's now also available on like 50 other platforms. So it's available to pick up right now, and I want to play a sample from the book for you. Stick around till the end because I have some thoughts about the audiobook itself and the process of making it. When you're making a video game all by yourself, you're going to be the only person playing that game for most of its development. Testing any new content or feature is the same thing as playing that game. Making a puzzle game? You'll need to attempt those puzzles over and over again while designing them. Adding a jump mechanic? You'll need to repeatedly play with the jump to get it feeling good. Adding a complicated quest? You'll need to repeatedly play through the steps of the quest to test them during development. Since you must perform these tasks hundreds or thousands of times during development, it's preferable that you enjoy them. You'll be a happier developer and more likely to finish your project. Quote, "Writing a book is reading that book. Filming a movie is watching that movie. Making a game is playing that game." Me, I said that. Chapter 5, Section 3. Make it for you. You'll be playing your game a lot as you make it. You'll know every nook and cranny, so you should make yourself comfortable. Remember that this game is for you. You're the producer, the one at the center, ensuring everything gets done. Since you're doing it alone, you are the sole client, yours the only taste to appease. Since this is for you, have fun with it in your way. Maybe part of your itch is to get your game into the hands of thousands of players all across the globe. And maybe after a lot of hard work, you can get there. But in the meantime, you are the first player. You're the only player that matters in the beginning, so it makes sense to double down on yourself and what you want. Make your game opinionated and let yourself really come out. Speak loudly and pick a clear lane. This game should scream you. It's your home, your happy place. If you nurture your game in this way, you can create a delicious creative cycle. Does something you want to express feel too emotional, too political, too scandalous? This is not the time to care about that. Your game is not a stuffy corporate project that needs to appeal to the masses to please shareholders. Your game is yours alone, and can be as weirdly, uniquely you as you desire. The more personal and for you it is, the more you'll love it, and the more likely that you'll be able to summon the strength to finish it. Make it for you. So that sample was from Chapter 5, Make the Game You Want to Play, which I think is a really important element of finding the strength to take your game to the finish line. Making the audiobook was really difficult. I learned a lot about how to enunciate properly. I've noticed that like for my podcast and some of my YouTube videos, I kind of have a more natural vibe, and sometimes I'll talk really quickly. But for the audiobook, I was reading up on it, and a lot of people listen to audiobooks at like 1.5 speed. And so it's extra important that you take the time to enunciate each word clearly. And doing that was really hard. The audiobook runs just over 2 hours long, and the book took me weeks to finally finish recording and to get sounding good. I thought it would be kind of easy because, you know, I'm a podcaster. I've been podcasting. I used to have a podcast called Lostcast through Lost Decade Games. I ran that for about 7 years, and now I've got Make the Game with Matt Hackett. I've got this nice microphone. I've got a setup here. I feel like I'm kind of a practiced person. I can record my own audiobook, no problem, right? But still, it was surprisingly hard. It's so interesting to me how when changing the medium at all, things become more difficult. Have you ever like read a book and then you watch a TV show or a movie based on that book, and you know things are inevitably different, right? Like they kind of need to be. When you change mediums, you don't want things to always be identical, and sometimes you might have a book that's kind of like you might have heard the term unfilmable, right? But even when the mediums are very similar, like a podcast can kind of be the same thing as an audiobook, but the context really matters. Because like a podcast is free, it's kind of free flowing, it's kind of conversational, it's kind of casual. But with an audiobook, it's paid, it needs to feel more professional, you need to enunciate your words clearly, it needs to be timed correctly, there needs to be good pacing. And my book has a lot of content, a lot of stuff to go over. I needed to figure out things like how to do the quotes. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it, but the way I did it is like this. Quote, "I don't believe that there's a right way to make games. Derek Yu." Quote, "Just make the game. John Romero." And that's probably not how, like if you listen to my podcast, I'll be like, oh yeah, John Romero had this really great talk and then the history of id Software, and he said something like, polish as you go, don't depend on polish happening later, just make the game. Super casual, but that's not the way it is in like a professional audiobook. My book is packed with drawings, as you probably know if you've read it, right? Here's Hello World. One of my personal favorite ones is Beware of Scope Creep. I love this one. Actually, just today I noticed I had a tweet scheduled. I made an animated version of this that kind of spins. Twitter loves it. But like, what does this look like in audiobook form? I couldn't figure that out. A common thing in audiobooks is to just reference the image. You can attach like a PDF to your audiobook, and you can say, reference figure 31B or something like that. And you could describe the image. Beware of scope creep, featuring an Ouroboros with several snakes eating each other that are labeled features, mechanics, modes, content, and polish. And I tried stuff like that, but it kind of interrupted the flow, and I just didn't like how it sounded. It made things kind of awkward. And so for the audiobook, I'm just reading the text stuff, and I felt like the quotes were enough to kind of break it up, because the book is very much like, page, quote, page, drawing, page, quote, page, drawing, page, like that kind of staggers between the different types of content, right? Like, and that's intentional in the book, because like this is the version of the book that I created by default. You know what I mean? The ebook, which is a PDF and an EPUB, and it's also on Kindle. That was sort of the secondary version, right? Like I designed the book, I designed the pages to kind of go together. Like this text here describes this drawing here, and so the book is kind of meant to be this like 2-page dual scenario. Even after I had recorded the audiobook, I had some problems uploading. There was this new, I forget what it's even called, this new term I had to learn. I actually went to college for, it was actually radio television, but I kind of specialized in audio. And if you know anything about audio, you may have heard of like dB, common ways to measure what a volume sounds like. And there's some like listenable term, and some of my files didn't hit that mark. They either went too loud or too quiet, even though I made sure none of them popped or cracked, none of them went over that 0 dB threshold. I had to record multiple takes for every single chapter. I thought I could bang it out in a week, but it ended up taking, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 weeks in total. And it wasn't the only thing I was concentrated on. Like during that period, I was working on all kinds of stuff. Content marketing on Twitter, obviously working on my games, Witchmore, Pixel Washer, doing the podcast, Make the Game, interviewing people. And so my attention was always kind of split, but I was really surprised by how long the audiobook took to make and how taxing it was on me. But this is it. I am proud of it. I do hope you'll check it out. It's on Spotify, Amazon, and Audible, which if book sales have told me anything, those are the main places that people are probably going to pick it up. And if you're still listening to this, you are exactly the person who might actually rate the book. So I would say please go and give it a 5-star rating if you would. Right now it's sitting on Spotify anyway. 4 reviews at a 4.5, that's pretty good. I'd love some more 5-star ratings. And of course, if you haven't, this is the premiere version, the paperback, which you can also get for a limited time. There's only so many copies left, but you can get a signed copy over on Gumroad. That's it. Good luck with your game. Go pick up my audiobook. This is my book, How to Make a Video Game. Gotta be kidding me.